Welcome back to the One Dope Couple podcast. We are your hosts. My name is John Trone, and this is my beautiful queen,
Adoria.
Today, we are going to be talking about one of the questions that we got asked recently on social media, which was, how do you change your partner in some variation of that to being what you want them to be? That's been one of those questions that I've gotten asked so many times.
Right.
And rather than me just answering it for one person, we figured why not make it a whole episode? Because I think we got a lot to say about that.
Okay.
Have you ever been asked that question, babe?
I actually have. I've been asked that question. Well, not in that way. It was more like, what did I do to make you want to change?
Right.
Yeah. And I'm like, I ain't do nothing. Like, honestly, I'm like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He wanted to change, and I was just there to support.
What's interesting about that is I've been asked that question so many times, and I always respond the same way.
Yeah.
Like somebody asked me, how can I get my partner to change or to be a particular way? And I'll always tell them, like, you can't do that.
Right.
And you shouldn't actually want to do that, like try to make them change. But what you can do is you can be better and you can inspire them to change, but you can't even do that directly because they have to actually think it's inspiring for one, and they actually have to have the desire to change or be better or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And so the idea that so many people think that they should actually do something to make their partner change is interesting to me. Like, I think that is a very interesting thought.
I think it's actually really selfish. I think saying, hey, I want my partner to be this type of way for me is very selfish, and not thinking, hey, they should be a certain type of way for themselves. Because say they do change for you and it doesn't work out, then they're lost. They became a version of themselves that was for you, and now they got to go on a journey to find their damn self again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it's really like selfish to be like, hey, I want them to be this type of way for me. So
I think I get why a lot of people say it, because maybe they're trying to grow more in their relationship. Maybe the communication or the affection or something like that isn't where they would like it to be, and they want them to change in that way. But even then, you still can't make a person do that, because what you have to acknowledge first is that it has to be important to them.
Exactly.
Because if they do it strictly based off of somebody else's external desires, somebody outside of themselves, that can unfortunately cause resentment.
Right.
Because they may end up unintentionally becoming a version of themselves that they don't like, or that they didn't agree with. And then you end up getting the collateral damage of that. And so it's more beneficial, in my opinion, to just, you become better. You do the work on you being the best version of yourself, still loving your partner as best as you can. And then hopefully in your growing and your becoming better and serving and showing up for your partner better, that will inspire them to be different or to do the same thing.
I think you can bring certain things to someone's awareness.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, we're having this communication issue. These are things that I do in our communication that it might not be the best. And here are some things that you do that might not be the best. How do you think we can work on these together? Do you see these as an issue? If they don't see it as an issue, then it's like, well, I don't know where to go from there.
Yeah.
But if they're like, you know what, I do want to work on that. I do think we should work on our communication better, because that would bring more peace into our household. So I feel like that's a good way to attack a thing, where when you want something fixed, it's like, okay, well, you might see it as a problem, but do they see it as a problem? So, yeah.
And it also depends on the degree of the relationship, too.
Yeah.
Because how you would approach that in a marriage is completely different than the approach you might take if somebody's boyfriend and girlfriend or something like that, or whatever the case. Because if you're just dating somebody and you're, again, boyfriend and girlfriend, all of that good stuff, your approach to that might be more like, hey, I would prefer you be this particular type of way, or not even you be this particular type of way, or I would prefer if we could work on our communication, or you would talk to me a certain way, or if you would open up to me. And then they have to have that desire to do that thing because they want to care for you serve you, and love on you in a particular type of way based off of the way that you need it.
Right.
Now, when you've been together for a while, you're married and stuff like that, sometimes it's a little bit more direct. You need a certain thing from your partner in order for y'all to be able to continue to grow in that relationship. So that approach is a little bit different. So you have to understand, or people have to understand, that the approaches can't always be the same.
Right.
Because you can retreat out of a dating type relationship a little bit better, because in those relationships, you're just trying to get to know a person.
Yeah.
You're trying to actually build that ground in order to see if you want to go farther. And so if they have that interest in becoming better or expanding themselves and being more for the relationship and for themselves, specifically for themselves, and allow that to benefit the relationship, then that's great, because you can continue to go deeper in that relationship. And so looking at all of those different areas, like, people really have to understand, like, for one, where are we in our relationship?
Yeah.
What makes the most sense? Like, how does me taking a particular type of approach really actually add value to not only to myself, but to you also, and making you better and making the relationship that we have better? And how much control do you actually have?
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a lot of control for real.
Yeah. I like how you put that. It's more so like, not you be better for me, but how can we both be better for the relationship? You know, and something in the relationship is a problem, and there's some type of conflict here. And what do we need to do together to attack whatever that problem is?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
It reminded me of, well, in the video that I had posted before out of one of my clips, I had said that you inspired me to basically, improve my character and things of that nature. And what was interesting about that is it made me think about when baby girl, first came to stay with us when we was in Washington. And I was in the combat arms unit at the time. It was primarily dudes. I was in an aggressive environment pretty much all day, every day. And so when she came up there, after we finally got our family back together, I really had to learn how to adjust myself to be the father that she needed.
Yeah.
And to learn how to communicate that, like, to her. I had to be a better communicator for her. And so that way she wouldn't shut down because I didn't think much of it. But just because I didn't think much of it meant that she would feel that way.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to use my words differently, adjust my tone, and learn how to speak to her in a way to where she would be comfortable opening up to me, and we could actually talk and it be effective and reciprocated both ways.
Right.
And I had to learn how to do that. And it's not that I had any, wrong intentions in how I was speaking to her before, but even though I may not have a problem with it, if I want to get my message across to her, I still have to do it in a way that she can receive it.
Yes.
And I had to learn that.
That's so good.
And I had to fix my character to be that.
Yes.
Because, yeah, I'm your dad and stuff like that or whatever, but you still have to be able to receive whatever communication I'm trying to give you from me. And I got to create the environment and have the character to be able to do that.
Right.
And I just had to make that adjustment. And that's the same thing that happens in relationships.
Absolutely.
And so, okay, how can I fix myself? How can I do the self-work to be able to deliver this thing to my partner or somebody that I love and care about in a way that it can be effective? And it doesn't take away from me.
Right.
It makes me better, period.
Yeah.
And it allows me to be able to serve somebody I love.
That's good. That was really good.
That's how I look at it.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like your breakdown for that.
Yeah, I did that.
You did.
Appreciate it.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so that's been one of those things, that it's easier to say sitting here, but it's way harder to do it in real life.
Yeah.
Because we actually have to, for one, humble ourselves, so to say, and realize that, hey, you may not be as good in a particular area in your character, how you communicate or how you do a certain thing or whatever as you think you are.
Yeah, because even if someone was to come to their partner and say, hey, I think you need to fix this about yourself, It's like, well, you need to fix something about yourself because your delivery was off. Mm-hmm. So both of y'all need to fix something here. So yeah, being able to have that awareness within yourself to be like, hey, like, I suck at communicating in a way that they can understand.
Yeah.
So I need to fix this about me, and then we can work on fixing this about them too. Mm-hmm. But just be okay. I feel like a lot of people aren't okay with like growing through that.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to butt heads sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like, that is how you grow. Challenges are going to come regardless, but it's okay for you to bump heads and look at each other and be like, okay, this is a problem. How can we sit down and fix this together? Yeah. Not go against each other, but how can we fix this together? So yeah, I think that's an issue in itself.
Yeah. And then another thing that I was thinking about is sometimes you have to ask yourself, am I being a person worth changing for?
Uh-oh.
Because sometimes we have these demands that we have from our partners and we want them to be a particular type of way for us because we think we're at a certain level in their lives that may or may not be true. And sometimes you have to look at yourself and ask, have I been a person worth changing for this person? Not based off of your opinion of yourself, but for this person that I'm with. Right. And if not, maybe if I adjusted myself and I became a person worth changing or being better for, because changing can be a little bit of a touchy word.
Yeah.
Being better for, then maybe they might adjust and do the same because they see my efforts. And because of the way that I love and I care for them, I might create an environment to where that reciprocity can exist.
Yeah. And even in that, I feel like that should still be communicated. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, well, I'm trying to be better in this particular area. And like, just let it be known that you want to get better and then see how they respond, or just open up the floor for communication instead of just saying, okay, well, I'm going to get better at this thing and hopefully they'll get better too. No, like, let's not leave stuff to chance.
Yeah.
Let's actually be direct as we can. Say, hey, I'm working on this for myself because I want to be better for our relationship. And ask them, is there something you think you can work on to make our relationship better? Not set, we set in relationship goals. That's exactly what we're doing here. This is literally what's happening. It's like, okay, I need to be better at communicating for you. Mm-hmm. And you need to be better at communicating for me. How can we both work on this thing together so we can be better?
Yeah.
So our relationship can thrive. Yeah. Relationship goals. Let's set that as a relationship goal.
And then understand that when you're doing stuff like that, just because a partner brings something like that up to you doesn't mean that they're chastising you or trying to beat you. It's feedback.
Yes, that's
It's
good.
actual feedback that can potentially benefit the relationship.
Yeah.
But you have to have the perspective to look at it that way. Mm-hmm. Because if you feel like a person is just nagging you or attacking you, automatically the defenses go up. Mm-hmm. So now you have to go a little bit deeper into the conversation and be like, hey, you know what? If I'm honest with myself, I know this person actually cares about me. Mm-hmm. I can reference their actions. I can reference how they've treated me, how they've spoken to me, how they've added value to me, all of these things. So I know this person cares about me genuinely.
Yeah.
So in them saying this, they're saying that because they care about me.
Yes.
And now with that understanding, I can take the feedback that they're giving me, know that it's coming from a loving place, and adjust myself for somebody that loves me and wants to continue to love me.
That's so good. That's so good. Knowing the heart of your partner and knowing that they always have good intentions for you and for the relationship. Mm-hmm. Because why would you be with somebody who you would think would have bad intentions towards you?
Exactly.
Like, that literally makes no sense at all. So yes, I love that. That was good, baby.
Because sometimes, for one, thank you. I'm going to take all my kudos, because I really have been thinking about this.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing to me how often I see people, especially, in the comment sections and stuff like that, always asking for advice on how they can get their partners to do something or be something or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And then on top of the fact that I ain't going to attack nobody.
Don't attack nobody.
But I don't feel like it's the most productive thing to do to ask a whole bunch of randoms you don't know for their opinion and feedback on your relationship when you don't know these people.
Yes.
And the crazy thing is people will see a person ask a question online and they be so excited to just word vomit all over them and say anything. You got to sneeze.
I was about to sneeze. I'm sorry. Okay, it went away.
It happens. Hey,
okay.
You're still human.
Yeah.
But anyway, it'd be so interesting to me because, again, people be asking random people, all of these questions and they don't know their values, what they stand for. They don't know if it's coming from a good place, if they might be emotionally worked up at the time and they just giving them literally an emotionally triggered answer. Anything, like you're asking the world for feedback on something so intimate.
Yeah.
Something so you would assume to be valuable between you and somebody that you love. And it's one thing to ask for feedback, but in our humanness, a lot of us will hear stuff like that or see stuff like that. And then we automatically will start to counter our own initial thoughts and beliefs on how we should handle a situation. And we think that we're not influenced by that stuff, but we are.
Yeah.
Especially if you do stuff like this regularly and people start looking at themselves thinking that they're crazy or maybe they should do something different or whatever the case, especially if you're already coming from a sensitive spot. You're already vulnerable. And now you're opening up a gate for a whole bunch of other stuff to come in and you don't know the intentions of all of those things.
Right.
And so at least go to the page of a person that you think might actually add some value to you.
Yeah.
Check them out. Get a feel for their character, what their standards are, what their values are. Something. Do a little bit of, strategic research before you ask a person for their advice or an opinion or whatever the case may be. And then have the awareness to know that, you know what, I can listen to this thing, maybe be able to use some of it and then reject the parts that I don't think work the best for me.
Right.
Something like that. But people be opening themselves up a lot of the time doing stuff like this, like, oh, how can I make my partner do this? And because of the humanness of people, that's like prime time for somebody to let their ego start talking and to get full of themselves and feeling like they're coming to the rescue when they're really doing that because they like hearing themselves talk. And they not actually trying to help you. They just want to say something, which sounds crazy a little bit.
It don't sound crazy.
But a lot of people just be online ready to say anything to anybody and not actually be helpful.
Yeah. So
you got to tiptoe into doing stuff like that and use a little bit more caution when you throwing your stuff out there and realize that there's also a little element of being a little bit disrespectful. Because you didn't just jumped out here and put your partner out there in front of everybody.
Yes.
And if you don't think that's a problem,
that's part of the problem.
That's part of the problem.
Yes.
Because you don't know who's about to see that, who might just know your partner and how that information might make it back to him. And you done just blast it. And I'm saying him like it's only dudes or whatever.
Yeah.
But him or her.
Yeah.
You don't know who that statement or comment that you made is like running across. So you don't know what the collateral damage of that can actually be. And you may think that you're doing something out of the kindness of your heart, but you could have probably taken a better approach to that. You know what I mean?
No, I absolutely agree with that.
So yeah.
Yeah, I've seen people like dog their partner out in our comment section, and I'm like, whoa, but your partner is the one that needs to be fixed.
You got to take some personal responsibility there.
About that one.
The fact that you even thought that was cool is a problem.
Right.
So yeah, man, it's a slippery slope.
It is.
It's a real slippery slope.
You know how sticky it gets out here. Okay. But yeah.
What's interesting about that though is when you were saying before talking about like relationship goals and things like that, it also reminded me that when we're talking about growing and making our partners better and all of this other stuff, a lot of people don't know, man, that this show is a part of one of our goals in making each other better.
Yes.
And that was something that we decided to do for us.
Right.
And so we set the goal to where we wanted to be better communicators. Mm-hmm. And yes, we can still do that, and just communicate in our everyday life. But we also have some very dope conversations, and we think about a lot of things on a deeper level than maybe most people do. Mm-hmm. And we was like, hey, you know what? We just going to talk the way we normally talk and see who gets value from it, and then be able to grow on those thoughts or go deep in those thoughts and be able to share with people and hopefully add some value to them, just seeing how we develop in this space. Mm-hmm. Because you can look at our content from when we started, a year ago or so, and see what we're looking like now. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine it's day and night.
Yeah, it definitely is. I've looked back several times. Yes.
But what people have seen, what you guys have seen is us growing in real time, or seeing us actually do the work, be it in how we carry ourselves, how we speak to one another, and even maybe a little bit of our personality on the show and how we talk to one another.
Yeah.
But all of this is a part of a process that we've chosen. Mm-hmm. It's not to say that other people have to follow suit and do the same thing, but this was another opportunity for us to get better together that we chose.
Right. Facts.
Yeah. So it's working for us.
It is. And we'll continue to do so.
Yeah. I know a lot of people have talked to you about, what is it, like relationship goals and setting relationship goals and wondering what that looks like for them and or how we do it.
Yeah.
What's your typical response to that?
My typical response is like a relationship goal is whatever you set for your relationship. Like not everyone is going to be the same. Like how our relationship looks is different than how another relationship looks. Mm-hmm. So things we need to work on might be different for someone else, which it usually is different from someone else. So that's literally what I tell them. You just need to sit down with your partner and talk about, hey, like how are we moving forward in our relationship? And just asking certain questions that trigger you to think about the relationship itself, and not finances, the kids, and like anything external. Mm-hmm. Like with us, a big thing for us was being able to communicate better. Like that was the biggest thing, and to the point we were like, okay, we're okay with growing through that in public. So yeah, and then another thing for us was like dating more. Mm-hmm. So that's something we decided we wanted to work more on, which was great.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just depends on the couple, Mm-hmm. Like I don't think people should. I think like suggestions are fine, but sometimes people will take suggestions as actual advice and say that that's what they need to work on. Mm-hmm. So that's why I don't even like giving suggestions, because people will take that and run with it.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, you need to sit down with your partner. Like y'all need to sit down together and talk.
I think what's interesting in that, though, is because even when you are trying to establish, or you've already established whatever the goals are in your relationship, and you talk about wanting a partner to change and stuff, and seeing how those things relate so heavily. Mm-hmm. Because if you're in a relationship, a marriage, or whatever the case may be, and there's no direction for your marriage, then when you're asking somebody to change, and it's a casual change, and it's not actually leading them in a specific direction, then there can be a lot of resistance there.
That's good.
And so what makes me think about that is all of the changes that I've made for you in our marriage have been in a direction of goals that we've set together.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't refute those things and battle those things when I know, hey, we're trying to get here, and I know that me being this way adds value to the direction that we're going. And so if you have two people and you're together and neither of you know where the relationship of the destination of your relationship, where you're trying to get together, naturally there's tension because you're pulling each other in two different directions and nobody really knows where each other's going.
Yeah.
So if we say, hey, you know what? We want to have an extremely successful show. We want to be, full-time content creators. Mm-hmm. We want to make an impact. We want to do all of these different things or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you end up telling me one day, like, babe, you know what? I think you really need to work on your communication or how you talk to people or how you present yourself or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. Even if I don't like it, I can sit with it long enough to be like, hey, you know what? I probably should do that just because I know what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And I might be able to look at some of the things we've already done and reflect on those moments and see how it's hindered our growth. Mm-hmm. Just because I may not like the information doesn't mean that it's not true.
Right.
And the fact that you're saying this to me, or you might be saying this, and this is just an example, of course,
yeah.
At least I have a direction for that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, you know what? This is probably a problem for real. Right. Because if she feels like that, I wonder how many other people I'm making feel like that.
And knowing that I'm as committed to the goal as you are.
Exactly.
Like my intentions are for us to get to whatever the destination is that we have established. I want us to get there too. Mm-hmm. So if I need to work on some stuff for myself, I'm going to do that too. If I see something that you should probably work on, I'm going to point it out because we need to get there. That is the goal.
Yeah.
So knowing that we're trying to go in the same direction. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like, I think that's why a lot of people probably struggle with that the most, because so many people get wrapped up in just the emotional high of being together.
Yeah.
Especially if you're early on in dating or maybe early in a marriage or something like that. Mm-hmm. You're just enjoying it, which is cool, which you should absolutely do.
Yeah.
But even in you just enjoying it, you still have to be going somewhere.
Yeah.
You still have to be taking your relationship, your marriage, or whatever the case may be. It still has to be going somewhere. Mm-hmm. And to think that you're going to be the same person 2, 3 years, 5, 10 years down the road. Mm-hmm. Nah, boss, you're not. Mm-hmm. You're not. You're not at all. Matter of fact, we were just talking about that earlier.
Literally just talking about
like
that.
We got married at 21, and had we have been able to have a glimpse into the future to be able to see who we are today, we might be like, oh my God, I would have never guessed that we would be doing this.
Never guessed.
Or that we would be like this, or whatever the case. We'd have never been able to strategically scoped out who we think we're going to be. We'd have been so wrong.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because values change. Mm-hmm. Personalities change.
Yes.
All of these different things change about yourself. But at least when you're establishing goals together, you're creating some type of direction together, for your marriage or your relationship, you can be together in the grooming process of becoming who you need to be while pursuing whatever that thing is. Mm. So again, it takes away the resistance when there's a time or periods where change needs to happen, be it in your personality, in your actions, things that you're doing, how you treat one another. Mm-hmm. It's directed somewhere.
Right.
And if it's meaningful enough, a person should be able to look at themselves and be like, hey, you know what? I can take that. Mm-hmm. I could take that in. I could see how that is hindering something that we've decided to be important.
Right.
I can adjust.
I like that phrase. We've decided to be important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's not just a me thing when you're in a partnership.
Right.
And so if you're having problems, in my opinion, with getting a person to change, there's so many things involved in that may not be accounted for. Mm-hmm. Who you're being, how you're showing up, a lack of vision, values, and direction in your relationship, your goals, whatever the case may be. So there might be more foundational work that needs to be done. And then when you're having that conversation about change, at least the foundation is set. Mm-hmm. And so when you're requesting change or you're having a conversation about it, it's standing on something that supports something that you've both decided on.
Yeah.
And if a person is resistant to that, then you might have another problem. Mm. And I don't think we really need to get into specifics.
No, we don't need to get into specifics. Not in this episode. This was good, though. This was really good. You had some gems, baby.
I have a strategic way of thinking about certain things sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I always really try to go back in our own real life examples.
Yeah.
Like we've lived through a lot of that.
Yes.
Like you've had to change, for me sometimes. I've had to change for you sometimes. We've had to change together for baby girl sometimes.
Yes.
We've had goals before that were way bigger than us, and we had to change to be able to go after those things.
Yeah.
But it usually always started with us identifying, okay, where are we going?
Yes. Yes.
Where are we going? What are we trying to do? Okay, what adjustments do we need to make in ourselves?
Yeah.
And then, even if it's hard, at least it's hard with a purpose.
Yes. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Because it'll be crazy to think that, I'm going to change this or do these things to try to make myself better and think that you're not about to get some resistance. Absolutely you are.
Right.
But at least if there's some purpose behind it, you might just end up finding yourself being willing to go through whatever that is anyway, because the thing that's on the other side is worth it.
Right. That's good. That's good. I think that's a good place to end that, because that's really good.
Hey, man, if y'all have gotten value out of this episode, please do like, comment, and subscribe. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcasting platform, man, rate us. Give us a rating. Leave us a comment there. All of that stuff, man. Ask us questions because we actually want to show up to give more value. Like, not just to hear ourselves talk.
Right.
We actually want to serve and give value to the people who take the time to listen to our show, because we actually do pay attention. We actually listen, and we're doing better at responding to more things. Yeah. Even though our plate is getting a little bit heavier, but still, man, if you're rocking with us, like, comment, subscribe to the show. Yeah. And give us feedback, man, because we absolutely appreciate it and are so grateful for it. And until next time, my name is John Trone. This is my beautiful queen,
Adoria.
We are one dope couple. And until next time, family, peace and love.